Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's DOC McStuffins Cake Pop tutorial, where I'm going to be showing you how to make these three adorable Disney DOC McStuffins characters from the DOC McStuffins Kids TV show. The things that you'll need for today's tutorial: I've got a little bit of sticky tape, I've got my cake pop balls, so if you don't have a great recipe for your cake pop balls, I will leave a link to the Cupcake Addiction recipe in the description box below. I've got a pair of scissors, a couple of Ziploc bags and some melted white chocolate. I've got some melted blue chocolate or candy melts and some skin coloured chocolate, which is really just mainly a white chocolate with just a hint of brown and a hint of pink to give it that skinny fleshy tone. I've got some white nonpareils or white sprinkles, a knife, I've got an edible marker, some lollipop sticks, a skewer toothpick, a spoon. Over here I've got some little pink roll candies, so they normally come in a multicoloured roll. I've got some little pink love heart sprinkles, a piece of candy corn, some white Sixlets, or you can also use mints, a mini Oreo cookie. I've got a piece of soft eating licorice and a pretzel stick. Off to the side I've also got my DOC McStuffins printable templates, so I will leave a link to those in the description box below, just an optional extra. I've got a polystyrene block to set my pops in while they're drying, and just a plate or a flat tray to catch some of our sprinkles. So let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is shape our cake pop balls. So two of those balls are going to be perfectly round. The third one for Stuffy's head is more like a tapered strawberry. So you just want to rock it in your palm to kind of give it a little bit of a pointier, smaller top. Round out the bottom edge because that's going to be his big nose. You should have a shape roughly like this. You want to pop that off into the fridge for at least 15 minutes. You'll see here all of mine have been refrigerated and they're really nice and firm. You want to grab your lollipop sticks now, and we're going to dip each of these in a different colour. So we've got our 3 lollipop sticks. The first one I'm going to use white, so just dip about a centimetre or so into that white chocolate and insert it into the flat bottom of your first round cake pop ball. For your second one, we can do this one white as well, or that skin colour, once again into the bottom, the flat sort of side of your round cake pop ball. For our little dragon Stuffy, it's a little bit different. You want to insert your lollipop stick in, and you want to make sure that you don't put it too close to this smaller end or your cake pop's going to crack. So dip into your blue chocolate, and then you want to put it up sort of on an angle. So you can see there I'm twisting as I push it in, but what you've got is a bit of an angle, so that snout is sort of tilting down and the smaller back of the head is tilting up. While those ones are setting, we're going to start making some of our accessories. So take your mini Oreo and just split it in half. This is going to make the base of Chilli the Snowman's hat. Take your soft eating licorice, or you could also use a tootsie roll here, a bit of black fondant, and just cut it in half. And then put down a little bit of that blue chocolate, because this hat actually has a little blue band around it. And you want to just take that soft eating licorice and sit it straight down on the blue chocolate. You can see the little blue band poking out. Take your piece of candy corn now, and you can also use some orange fondant or modelling chocolate for this. I really just want the orange bit, so I'm going to cut off the white and the yellow. And because that orange is still a little bit fat to be a snowman nose, I'm just going to cut off either side of it so that I've got a really nice little mini carrot nose type shape. Take one of your little love heart sprinkles and just chop either side and a tiny bit off the bottom, just to make it a bit of a smaller love heart for Lambie's nose. Now give your white chocolate a really good stir. I always like to stir right before I dip because it gives you a really nice even dip. And take your first white dipped cake pop ball, so your straight round ball, dip it down into your white chocolate and just lightly tap off any excess. Before your white chocolate dries, you want to stick the little hat and also your little carrot nose onto Chilli's head and into the front of his face, and then pop him off into your polystyrene block to set while we keep working on Stuffy the dragon. Take your pretzel stick now and just snap off a couple of even length pieces. We're going to stick those into the back of Stuffy's head for his little dragon horns. A little bit of melted blue chocolate, and just make sure you support your head as you're putting these in so that you don't crack your cake pop. And I'm just pushing them ever so slightly, a millimetre or so into that cake pop with that melted blue chocolate to stick. You want to get your white sprinkles ready, and you'll notice my melted chocolate is in quite a deep container because we've got to allow for the room of those horns and that oddly shaped head. So just dip your Stuffy down nice and carefully, making sure that you don't scrape those horns against the bottom of your cup, or else you're going to knock them out. Pull him out and just gently tap off any excess. Before that dries, you want to get your 2 white ball sprinkles on, and then you can pop him off into the polystyrene block and he can set. Dip your cocktail stick into a little bit of that blue chocolate and just give your Chilli the Snowman a really nice little fine light blue smile with that chocolate. And then you want to take your edible marker and give Chilli his eyes. So they've kind of got like a flat line going across the bottom and then like a tall semicircle on top. And I love using Americolour markers. I find they're one of the best edible markers for drawing on your cake pops and drawing on chocolate in general. Take a tiny dot of melted white chocolate and just one little dot in the corner of each eye just to give Chilli some brights to his eyes. Stuffy the dragon should now be nice and dry, so lay him down on the table and you want to take your Ziploc bag and a bit of that melted blue chocolate. Just scoop the melted chocolate in there, push it all the way down to the end and seal the bag up before just snipping off a nice little end. It doesn't have to be particularly fine. We're just going to use this to trace over and give him some eyelids. So I'm just going about a third of the way from the back of the eye and just drawing a line straight across those eyeballs and then coming around the back of Stuffy's head and just filling it in. It doesn't have to be too terribly neat. It's just to give him the idea of those little sort of eyeballs with the eyelids covering them and to bring the eyes more into the cake pop. You can take a little skewer or toothpick and just neaten it up a little bit and fill in any bits that you might have missed with the Ziploc bag. And then just grab the Ziploc bag again and you just want to give him two little nostrils. So just one dot and then another on the top of each side of his nice rounded snout like so. Taking Stuffy again while you've still got that melted chocolate in the Ziploc bag, we're just going to give him a little scarf. So just lay him on his side and just trace around the bottom of his neck, just in a bit of a circle, I guess, or a line. And then I just came down the Lollypop stick to give him those two little tassels of his little blue scarf. That's Chilli, pretty much finished. He can go off to the side until the gang's ready to join him. Moving on to Lambie. So take your very, very pale, fleshy coloured chocolate. And once again, we're just going to dip that cake pop ball and shake off any excess. Give it a little tap. Don't let it dry too much here. You want to take your two roll candies, and once again I used pink here, stick them in either side of Lambie's head. And you also want to take that tiny, tiny little nose, the love heart nose, and stick it right smack bang in the front, sort of on the bottom line of those two ears. So you should have something that looks a little bit like this. While that one's setting, you can take your edible marker and we're just going to give Stuffy his smile. So he's got quite a big, wide smile, and you want it to go all the way from one side to the other across that nice rounded snout or nice rounded head. You also just want to outline the little nostrils, so just a little semicircle in each nostril just to give them a little bit of definition. And then you want to take your edible marker and just give him two nice, big, round, black pupils. That's Stuffy finished, so pop him off into the polystyrene block with Chilli and let's keep going with Lambie. Just like we did with that blue chocolate, you want to tip some of your white chocolate into your Ziploc bag, smooth it down, push out any air, seal it up, and just cut off a nice little tip. We want to start outlining Lambie's head, so I'm going to start under one of her ears and come around to the other one, kind of like an Abraham Lincoln style of beard, and you just want to fill it in. I'm going to do this in small sections because otherwise your white chocolate's going to dry and you're not going to have time to get the sprinkles to stick to the entire thing at once. So start with the underside of her chin, sprinkle on some of those white sprinkles, and this is where your tray comes in because this will make a mess. Once you've done that first section, I like to outline her ears next, so just using the Ziploc bag, leave the pink centre of the ears visible so that you can see the white on the outside and a little bit of pink in the middle, and once again just tip those sprinkles over. Once both ears are done, it's time to do her fringe. So with the fringe, you kind of want like 3 little sections of fringe. You can see there as I'm colouring in the white chocolate, if I hold her up to show you, you can see she's almost got like sort of 3 little half circles. With the back, make sure that you're filling in all of the spare space, even if you're going over the sprinkles. And after you sprinkle those last lot of sprinkles on, use your finger and just pat down around that last join, because if your joint's going to show up anywhere, it's going to be on that last section across the back of Lambie's head. Alright, so Lambie should still be relatively damp, so you should just be able to stick her 2 little love heart sort of bow sprinkles into the top of her head, but if she's not, just use a tiny, tiny dollop of white chocolate to give those something to adhere to. Beautiful. Take your edible marker again, and for final details, you just want to give her 2 sort of small circle black eyes, and for her mouth, it's just the little line coming down from the point of that love heart and the 2 little semicircles to give her a little lamb mouth. Also give her 2 tiny, tiny eyelashes on each eye, and a tiny dot of white chocolate in each eye just brings her to life. Now these DOC MCSTUFFINS templates are a little bit optional, but I just thought they helped bring everything together, and you know I love my templates, so I'm just using a little bit of sticky tape just to affix that straight onto the Lollypop stick. There you've got all of your DOC MCSTUFFINS characters ready to go. I hope you guys have loved this tutorial. It's been really heavily requested, so if you think I've done a good job, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up, give it a share, give it a like. As always, thanks so much for tuning in to My Cupcake Addiction.